Hello, I am Nimja, and this is Nimja Live Smarter, March 2017. Hello everyone, I hope you can hear me. I apologize for the slight delay. Good evening everyone, or good afternoon, or good morning depending on your time zone. And I deeply apologize for the technical issues. The microphone was not being registered in my recording program, which of course is rather essential if I want to keep this session somehow. Anyway, before we start, good news everyone. The patrons have managed to reach the $1,000 goal, which means that I'm now obliged to make 7 sleep files, a whole week of them. It will be a while before I start doing this, but I do keep my promises. Now I hope everyone can hear me just fine. Very nice. As you may also have noticed, I've added some moderators to the chat, so that if people misbehave, well, at least we'll have something to do. And someone to take care of it. The other thing, of course, like usual, I am not able to chat because the typing would sound horrible on the stream. And another funny thing is that at the end of April I am giving a workshop in person near Antwerp in Belgium. If you happen to be nearby or if you're able to travel towards it, then check out hypno.nimja.com/live for more information about the event. Unfortunately, at the moment it's not yet possible to register for it, but the event will be up shortly. Now that's a very good question. Some of the more astute of you will also notice that my microphone is at the same time more and less visible. I will actually show you. So this is a vibration stand for a microphone, which allows me to record with less audio coming in from the background. And this feature is thanks to the wonderful supporters and donators over time, which allows me to improve my tech so that you get better sound. It's called a shock mount. Now, as usual, the recording will be on the site a little while after the live event, with background music and some cutting of the chatter. Now, since we're going to start in just a few minutes, I wonder, what did you think with the subject of smarter? And yes, the shock mount is all the better to shock you all into submission. Very lovely comment, Michelle. And yes, the theme would be indeed a little jarring for bimbos. Let's see, clear-mindedness, quick problem solving. Learning from failure is very important. Keep cool in front of difficult situations and problems. Let's see. We will start in just a minute. I tend to start 15 minutes after the starting time. Clearing distracting thoughts to allow more free flow of thoughts and ideas for problem solving. That's also a very good one. And I think the other thing that's very important is not to overthink things either. Like, it's good to give yourself time to think, but don't second guess yourself too much, because then you get caught in a loop of second guessing. I wouldn't quite say that this would be a IQ improvement file or an IQ increasement file. But I would say that this file helps you basically use your mind more. Now, of course, if I made you smart enough to suggest more for this theme, then, well, doing the theme would not be very useful. And don't worry if you're drawing a blank, that's what the file will be for. Blank is good. All right. Now let's slow down a little. Like usual, during the trance, please keep chats to an absolute minimum, because anyone who might have their eyes still open will be disturbed a little bit by the chat. And we're going to start the trance in just a moment. Is everyone ready? Very good. It's good to see that you're all ready. And it's nice to see all 71 of you. All right. Let's begin. Hello, I am Nimja, and this is Nimja Live, Smarter. This file will help you feel smarter and more capable of finding solutions to problems. See, the mind is a beautiful thing. It is capable of much more than we frequently allow ourselves to do. And one of the reasons for this is that we get very easily distracted. So what could we do against this to become smarter? See, a smarter person isn't necessarily more intelligent. They're just able to focus on a problem, to clear their mind from distractions, as to see every angle of a problem and find one or more solutions. So to begin, we're going to focus on clearing your mind. See, that fits very well with the idea of hypnosis, doesn't it? And maybe every time you got hypnotized, you actually became a little bit smarter, a little bit more able to focus on a problem, more able to pinpoint all your thoughts to one place. And right now, that place is my voice. To help you clear your mind, I'm going to ask you to focus on my voice. And I'd like to think that my voice is nice to listen to. Not boring, not too rough, not too smooth. Just right. And as it's nice to listen to, and hopefully you're enjoying the listening, you can clear your mind of everything else. Right now there are no problems put before you, just the simple facts of focusing, the simple question of listening. And the more you listen, the more you focus, the easier it will become. See, the thing is, once your mind knows the trick of clearing itself to focus, once it knows the trick of emptying itself, it becomes much, much easier to do it again. See, a trance is something you can practice. It's something you can develop, a skill that isn't just tied or limited to me, but it's instilled deep inside your mind. Now what you'll find is that the deeper you go inside your mind, the more intense the focus becomes, the stronger it becomes. And the more you clear your mind, the more you let all distractions slowly fade away as you focus on my voice, the easier it is to let the rest just fade away. The world is unimportant for a moment, so allow yourself to take a deep, nice breath. And just let the world fade away. If you want, you can close your eyes, but you don't have to. You're not required to do anything. You're not pushed to do anything either. And the more you let go of the world, the easier it becomes. The more you do, and the more you don't, the easier your mind just relaxes. It just relaxes into nothingness. Just listening, just relaxing, and just let it happen. Now, of course, we're not just here to relax. We're not just here to be empty. know we're here also to improve our mind, to become smarter. And there are several ways we can do this. And I'm going to teach you as many of them as I can think of. See, in a way, this is a challenge for me as well. Can I become smarter to help you to be? Maybe. We'll see. See, the first step is clearing your mind, and I'm sure that by now you've done so beautifully. The less distractions you have, the easier it is to focus on the problem at hand. And once you're there, the next step is to allow yourself to trust your thoughts. See, making mistakes is essential to becoming smarter. Making mistakes is so very important, because how can you learn if you never make mistakes? How can you improve if you never have any setbacks? And I know that a lot of people don't like publishing their mistakes, and what you see in the outside world are not the mistakes. They're the successes after the mistakes. So when you look at the world, it frequently looks as if nobody else like you, as if nobody else but you is making mistakes. But that's not the case. What you read and what you see are not the mistakes of others, but their successes. And same for others when they look at you. They don't see the mistakes in your minds. They don't see the times where you're not satisfied with what you've made. All they see is what you did. And you're smarter than you think you are sometimes. There are a lot of cases when your mind just has a solution, and all you have to do is accept it. And allow yourself to explore, to experiment. Allow yourself to feel that your mind is a wonderful place, with a lot of creativity and inventiveness needed to be smarter, to find a solution to a problem. And one part of being smarter is also one that is very underrated: knowing your limits. See, no human knows everything. However, nowadays we have access to so much. A simple question searched online can have a million answers. And when you know where to look or what to look for, you'll find your answers. Being smarter doesn't just mean that you know the answer yourself. It means that you know where to look. See, when you know where to look, it makes you smart, because you do the effort of finding a solution. And just because you didn't think of the solution yourself doesn't mean you get no credit, because you knew where to look. So take a deep breath. Just let the tension fade away for a moment. And let's take a moment to examine your mind. See, right now it is a bit quieter than normal, and you're able to think of simple things. So what would happen if there is a problem? See, part of your mind starts to focus when there is a problem. Part of your mind tries to already think of solutions as soon as a problem comes forward. When a problem is presented, your mind just focuses on it. But then sometimes you get distracted by not knowing what to do. But that's okay. Those thoughts are parts of the mistakes that you have to make to learn and to improve. But in the end, you'll get there. You'll manage, and you'll find a solution. And now, just a few simple words that you can take to heart. You can be smarter. Have patience with yourself. Forgive your mistakes and learn from them. Improve. Become better every time. And allow yourself to become better in small steps. A child can't write on day one, even year one. It takes a child many, many years to learn to write. So why do you expect of yourself to do everything right the first time? So allow yourself to become smarter. Learn from your mistakes. Let every step be a small step forward, just by learning from any step back. And I know you'll be fine. It will all be all right. You'll get smarter, and every time you think of this, you will learn, and you will actually get smarter. Now in a moment, I'm going to wake you again. And once you're awake, I want you to take a moment to look at yourself and just accept who you are. There's space for improvement in everyone. In me, in you, everyone. And once you see that there's space for improvement, allow yourself to both make mistakes and become smarter thanks to them. And don't forget, there's an opportunity to become smarter every day, no matter what you do. 1, 2, slowly waking. 3, 4, more aware. 5, 6, almost there. 7, 8, almost awake. And 9, 10, wake. And I hope you feel a little more educated. And yes, Rainy in Korea, now you're allowed to chat. During the trance, we ask you to be more quiet. Whew. Now I wonder how many people caught the playful reference at the end. Now, let's take a moment There we go. And unfortunately, my screen is less organized than normal because of the technical difficulties earlier. So I'm making some small adjustments. There we go. And now let's head on to the Q&A. You're allowed to ask anything, but I'm also allowed to answer anything. This was a shorter trance for a live event. However, an enjoyable one nonetheless. Sarah asks, do you get many people from Europe who watch your videos? Yes, I think there's a larger audience in the US, but I think there's a fair amount of people who watch from Europe. Cheyenne asks, so what's the clicking after slip-ups? Time marking for editing? Yes, exactly that. I press a key on my keyboard, which marks the time in the audio program, which allows me to find it quickly during editing after the live event. Georgina Rice asks, what makes a brat? What is a brat? Well, if you have to ask that, you're not one. Fen asks, have you ever worn contact lenses? If yes, how was the experience? It was okay. I didn't like it that much. I'm kind of oversensitive in a certain way, so I was constantly aware of the lenses. Autumn Heart asks, do you ever end up accidentally zoning out or falling into trance while editing? Actually, no, not during editing. I sometimes get into a light trance while recording, but not during the editing. Liz Orios asks, am I a bear? No, I thought you were a cat. Sarah asks, are your erotic stories based on real life events? Some of them are, yes. Cheyenne asks, do you rush when you edit the lives? Well, yes and no. I only do a very quick edit. I don't want to edit out every mistake because it is a live event after all. Octavio Hall asks, what is your favorite season? For visuals, winter, because I really like snow. However, because I bicycle a lot, I prefer spring, because it's not too hot yet. Rainy in Korea asks, are you single? Mostly yes. Hottie asks, where do you get inspiration for your erotic stories? Some of them seem so random. I have no explanation for my inspiration. I'm sorry. Ted asks, do you have any tips for DMing a Dungeons and Dragons game? I'm struggling to stop everyone from killing each other. Well, if you want to not make players do something, there are two ways. Either punish them for doing something or incentivize them to do something else. Sarah asks, it seems that you really value honesty. Why is that? Mostly because I'm an incredibly direct person, so honesty makes the most sense. Octavia Hall asks, what is your favorite role-playing game? Probably the new Zelda, but I don't know yet. If we're talking tabletop RPGs, I really like Paranoia XP. Liz Orios asks, is there any slight possible way that you could be dominant? I'm always a dominant. CJ Taker Girl asks, since you said you like spring, is there a lot of pollen in the Netherlands during spring? Yeah, it's a very windy country. Kicha asks, for how long do you do hypnosis? That depends on the session. If you mean how long have I been doing hypnosis? More than 18 years. Fen asks, what do you mean by mostly single? That I like teasing everyone. Ted asks, has anyone ever written or drawn anything for you, e.g. fan art? Yes, they have. There's a very lovely drawing of me as a snake, actually. Sarah asks, are you a day or a night person? I would say a day person. Lane asks, do you view your subs in a hierarchical manner? Not exactly. Someone asked, do we as humans all learn from our mistakes? Actually, no, I think we have to learn from our mistakes. What is my thoughts on there being a small PS4 community that ships you and Ultra Hypnosis as a couple? I am not surprised at all. Lauren Nekoramic asks, have you played Final Fantasy X2? No, I have. I've played X. CJ Taker Girl asks, is it true that Dutch people like mayonnaise instead of ketchup as a condiment? Yes, that's because our mayonnaise doesn't suck. I've had American people visit and they were all surprised by the flavor of the mayonnaise. That's because American mayonnaise doesn't taste nice at all. Gunnar Klinger asks, what brand are your headphones? Well, it should be on here. There it is. They are Philips headphones, and I bought these because the sound quality is good and they're incredibly comfy. Ted asks, have you watched Death Note? And if yes, L or Light? Yes, but only the original L. Autumn Heart, shipping Ultra and Fiona Clearwater is completely pointless. Sarah asks, how many hypnosis suggestions do you get on average weekly? That is a good question. I would say 5 or so, but it depends a bit because I get a lot of doubles. Octavia Hall asks, did you get a haircut? Not recently. Lane, my Dutch friend, told me this. Engeltje over mijn tongpiest. Why is this a thing? I have no idea. Georgina Rice asks, what was your first job? I was a morning paper boy. I got up at like 4:30 to deliver papers at 5. I was pretty good at it too. One of the most dependable ones in my region. At my peak, I did 5 routes in one morning because of 2 people disappearing. Fen asks, why do you like teasing everyone? Christarina asks, do you plan on watching the MST3K reboot? Maybe, if it's any good. Autumn Heart asks, do you plan to do something for April Fools? Well, the more astute followers of me will have noticed that I've never done anything for April Fools. And there's a reason for this. See, during the live events, I allow myself to be playful because there is context. However, I will not make a joke file because that would not fit with the tone of my channel. Rainy in Korea asks, do you like being called daddy or master better? Well, I only allow people online to call me sir. Either has to be earned. Jenny asks, has anyone cracked my name code yet? Yes. Octavia Hall asks, did you watch the movie Logan? If you mean Wolverine, yes, otherwise no. Gunnar asks, what is your opinion on Beats? Overpriced nonsense. Hottie asks, can you speak a little in a different language? I can speak... Je parle un petit peu de français, ik spreek een beetje Duits en ik spreek natuurlijk Nederlands. Autumn Heart asks, what if it was a joke live? I still would probably do the trance seriously. Alias asks, did you remember to let the Skype comic guy know about the heart-shaped spiral? I did, actually. I mentioned it to ZKO. Cheyenne asks, is hush now, little one a trigger or a hidden one? Not exactly. Sarah asks, out of all the places you've traveled to, where would you most likely like to live? So far, I haven't been in a country where I would significantly more like to live than the Netherlands. I've enjoyed a lot of countries, but there's a lot of good things here that I enjoy. Ted asks, if you had time, are there any outdoor sports that you would take up? Well, I already do a lot of bicycling, so probably no. But maybe volleyball. It's pretty fun. And I like swimming. Octavia Hall asks, would you rather be fast or strong? Yes. CJ Take a Girl asks, have you ever considered doing a collab with Entrancement UK? Considered, yes. Likely it will not happen. The reason why is that I make files to be consumed as a listener, while he makes files to be consumed as a watcher. There's a very different intention of our files. Sparkly Ember asks, you've mentioned that hypnosis is usually more effective in person as opposed to files. Why do you think that is? Well, because it's more intimate in person. There is tactile feedback. There is no delay and no problems. And because someone else is there in the room with you, it's easier to let go of your environment. Liz Orios asks, have you got any further with that file with Ultra? No, both of us are pretty busy. Sarah asks, have you ever gotten into a physical fight? Yes, unfortunately several times when I was in school. Van asks, what is the best instrument for a D&D bard to play? A lyre, obviously. Charisma joke. Lane asks, do you think it's wrong to instill and develop an alternate personality in a sub? Yes. Do not ever mess with alternate personalities in creating them. Creating an alternate personality on purpose has side effects that are not possible to oversee. Ted asks, when does childish become too childish? When you never get out of it. Sarah asks, are there a lot of poisonous and unhealthy foods in the Netherlands? Well, poisonous foods, I hope not. Unhealthy, not more than than elsewhere, I think. The only mild annoyance that I have is that for the price of one salad in the store, you can buy like 6 liters of beer, which I think is not a good system. Elise Brouwers asks, who is your favorite movie/book/series villain? Ooh, that is a difficult question. A villain. Probably the Joker. It's very hard to beat the Joker. And Cheyenne asks, can you do a challenge really fast? No, I'm not going to do that challenge. I'm sorry. Starting with A, name a file that you made starting with every letter of the alphabet. And no, I don't know all the names of my files by heart anymore. I have almost 300 files. Susie Brown asks, do you eat fast food a lot? No, not at all, actually. Octavia Hall asks, what is your favorite tongue-twisting sentence? From Singing in the Rain, Moses supposes his tosis androsis, but Moses supposes erroneously. Moses he knows his tosis androsis, but Moses supposes his tosis to be. Once upon a time, I also knew the whole V for Vendetta speech, which is also a beautiful tongue twister. Elaine asks, do you like frikandel? Yes, it's tasty, but I don't eat it very often at all. Sarah asks, do you have any other fetishes aside from control? Well, hypnosis. And I do like playing with pleasure. CJ Take a Girl asks, which voice actor for the Joker do you like the most? Also, which live action Joker do you like the most? Well, the live action Joker is obvious. There's only one choice. Heather. And there is voice actor. I think the one from the animated series. Elise Brouwers asks, are you going to do a special file for your 300th file? Yes, very, very likely. Lizorios asks, what is an easy way to trance a child? Rocking. Children are more susceptible to rhythmic rocking. Susie Brown asks, history or geography? History. Kicha asks, what do you do if a person is not possible to hypnotize? You change your tactics. Octavia Hall asks, can you say hello in a robot voice? Ted asks, I should have asked this one first. How is the evil overlord today? I'm doing well, thank you. Georgina Rice asks, would people call you a dark person? No, they tend to see me as white. And generally, I'm a lighthearted person. Sarah asks, do a lot of people ride bikes in the Netherlands? Oh, yes, they do. It is fantastic. Shellbark, you were asking questions that I cannot answer. Lucy Tanguay asks, when you put up your first naughty file, were you ever worried about the response you'd get? Yes, I was. The response has been pretty good, and I'm glad to make high quality files. That's pretty important. Lane asks, in your opinion, how often do you think TIS screenshot subs without their knowledge? Unfortunately, there is no way to tell. Some people are just assholes, basically. Georgina Rice asks, are you an optimist, pessimist, or realist? Realist, leaning to optimism. But I'm very careful and paranoid with certain things. So I use my pessimism as sort of a way to deal with, like, preventing problems. Liz Orios asks, have you ever tranced someone at work, like a party or a lunch break? Yes and no, but I'm not going into that. Fight Me at Walmart, weird name, asks, how do I get my boyfriend into hypnosis? Show him. Octavia Hall asks, what songs do you consider beautiful? Quite a lot. I really like Queen. CG Take a Girl asks, do you think we'll ever see the day when people will refer to themselves as human when asked what race they are? Not until we become intergalactic, because humanity is built in an us versus them nature, and the only way to get past a smaller us is to have a bigger them to be opposed to. T asks, is anybody totally impossible to hypnotize? Yes, certain mental structures are impossible to hypnotize. Kitcha asks, how do you decide to become a hypnotist? Well, how do you decide to become hypnotized? Fen asks, is DS necessarily sexual in some way? Not at all. Dominance and submission doesn't have to be sexual in any way. It's just that a lot of people have a fetish for it, which makes it sexual. Emily asks, what makes a person beautiful? Beauty is always in the eye of the beholder. So only the beholder can tell what makes a person beautiful. Christarina asks, what does natural dominant mean? That someone isn't trying to be dominant, it just happens. Susie Brown asks, may you say something in your snake voice, please? Georgina Rice asks, what is your opinion on AI? Do you think it's good or bad? It's an okay movie. Snowflake Kitty asks, what is your favorite Pokemon? Meow. Octavia Hall asks, what is a skill you'd like to learn? I don't know at the moment. If I want to learn something, I usually try to learn it. Ted asks, do people who click their fingers annoy you at all? A little bit sometimes, depends on how much they do it. What is the worst... Cheyenne asks, what is the worst reaction you've gotten when someone found out that you were a hypnotist? Thinking that I was evil. A very strongly religious person basically exclaimed that hypnosis was of the devil, and that because I practiced hypnosis that I was of the devil. Lane asks, how do you deal with someone who becomes romantic in DS relations? That depends. I don't really know how to answer that, I'm sorry. Cavi Leviathan asks, do you have any websites or something to get info on being dominant? There's fatlife.com. Club50 asks, did you watch the second season of The Seven Deadly Sins? If so, what are your thoughts about it? I have not yet. It is on my list. I enjoyed the first season. Bloop. Bye-bye. I suppose if I am a devil, I'm a sexy devil. Lucy Tangwe asks, would you ever make files for more serious topics? What kind of topics do you mean? Like, I will stay out of current events and politics, but I like to think that I have quite a few serious topics, like dealing with loss, for example. Rainy in Korea asks, do you like the color pink? Yes, but on other people. I quite enjoy pink even. Hottie asks, favorite genre of music? That depends on my mood. For programming, I prefer ambient chill. Sarah asks, do you ever wear hats? I look a little bit silly with a hat, although... And it feels weird, and bicycling with a hat is not that comfortable. Elise Browse asks, do you enjoy being a gentle dominant more or a controlling dominant? I would say a more gentle dominant most of the time. Ted asks, would having a sub who is a black belt in martial arts make you uncomfortable? No. Octavia Hall asks, who is your favorite character in Naruto? Probably Bruce. Lane asks, how to deal with people who cannot separate a DS relationship from a romantic one? That is something that you should discuss with your dominant or submissive, because the type of relationship is like between the two of you. Liz Orios asks, have you ever heard of the Cow and Chicken theme song? Yes. Susie Brown asks, do you have to wear a suit when you go to work, or is it what you want to wear? I can wear whatever I want. I tend to look like decent. Denise Frost asks, will you please take those glasses off? No. Not if you ask it like that. Emily asks, will you ever show us your maid costume? I am sorry, I do not own one. Ted asks, what is the worst injury you've had and how did you do it? Ooh, I jumped over it's not a fence, but like a railing once, and I landed wrong on my leg, and I managed to sprain my ankle quite bad, needing crutches for a week. That hurt a lot. I was actually lucky to not have torn a tendon. Liz Orios asks, would you ever do a vlog channel? No. Camitron400 asks, are you a big brother? In a way. Sarah asks, may you take off your glasses, please? Sure. Cheyenne asks, what chat messages do you delete? Only obvious trolls. Georgina Rice asks, what is the stupidest thing you've ever done which resulted in injury? Well, the stupidest injury I've ever gotten is a pretty nasty one. I jumped out of a tree onto a plank with a nail in it, pointing up, the nail. So that was pretty stupid. And it was stupid because the area in which I was climbing the tree was like building was being done. So I should have known that there was bad stuff laying on the ground. PJ Sparkle asks, what were you doing when I got the injury when I jumped over the railing? We were playing tag. Autumn Hart asks, does your employer know about your online content? Not much, but I don't hide it that much either. Fen asks, how bad is your eyesight? Well, it is not so bad that I couldn't read the screen with a bit of effort from this distance, but much more and it would be annoying. Rowan Martineau asks, am I early or late for the actual hypnosis? The actual hypnosis starts about 15 minutes after the planned time, so you're way too late. I'm sorry. Karen R. asks, are you good in a crisis? Yes, I'd like to think so. Lauren Nicoramic asks, have you ever had a scalp massage? Yes, it's nice. Elise Brouwers asks, what is the harshest punishment you've ever given a sub? The thing is, I try to give punishments that fit, but so I don't do things like ignoring a sub or not talking to one. It's hard to decide what the worst is. The disappointment that a sub feels when I'm really disappointed in them is usually worse than the actual punishment. Club 50 asks, what do you use for keyboard for equipment? Well, I'm not going to go through the whole list, I'm sorry. But I have an ultra-wide screen and a nice Logitech mouse. Autumn Heart asks, can I draw your snake in the maid costume? Well, I can't stop you, it's your drawing. Susie Brown asks, have you ever been in a natural disaster? The Netherlands doesn't get worse than storms. Hey, one of my moderators is on their side. Don't draw me in a maid costume. Georgina Giros asks, could you do hand movements? I could. Octavia Hall asks, what are you most afraid of? I don't know. I don't really have any like paralyzing fears. Liz Orios asks, what is the most evil brainwashing you've done? Check a live event a few times back. Cheyenne asks, do you consider this a show? Actually, no. This is a wonderful way to interact with my viewers. It is so nice to like see your reactions and be closer to you. If one of my moderators can find the snake drawing, they're allowed to share it. Fen asks, is there anything you do better left-handed than right-handed? Actually, yes, there is. Funnily enough, I do a lot of fine things with my left hand rather than my right hand. Octavia Hall asks, would you ever want a 3D printing machine? Realistically, no. I wouldn't do enough with it. Sarah asked, may you do jazz hands, please? With a big smiley face. No, but it's really nicely asked. Like, I write with my dominant hand. Liz Oreos asks, what is your most teasing voice, sir? Well, wouldn't you like to know? Elise Brouwers asks, do you like puns? Yeah, I'm a glutton for punishment. You know, punishment. Ha ha ha. CJ Taker Girl asks, have you ever used riff tracks while watching movies? Yes, there is a absolutely hilarious riff tracks for the Dragon Ball movie by the same people who do Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Riff tracks are usually not that good quality, but that one is fantastic. Lena asks, how many subjects is a manageable amount for a hypnotist in your opinion? Not that much. Like 3 or 4 at most. Kevi Leviathan asks, what can you do when a person likes bondage, but after tied up, they don't want to do sexual or SM stuff? What else can you do? Some people really enjoy the act of being tied up. So just staying tied up. Oh no, my moderators are having a fight who was the first in giving the link. Sarah asks, do you still go to Castlefest? No, I haven't gone to any of the big fantasy fairs lately, or the past few years. Liz Orios asks, would you ever do a diss track? No, I prefer to do positive things. Ted asks, is your name Dutch or does it come from somewhere else? Actually, I think my name is originally French, my first name, but my parents are Dutch. Cheyenne asks, I was experimenting with some paint software and made something that may be from your snake induction. Would you want to check it out later? Yes, feel free to contact me and talk with me then. Susie Brown asks, may you please tell us a funny experience with someone you hypnotized? A funny experience. Well, I've convinced someone that they thought they were never hypnotized while they couldn't actually use their hands. So they kept thinking of excuses why they couldn't use their hands, but they were absolutely 100% convinced that they were not and have never been hypnotized. Fen asks, favorite board game? No idea. Elise Brouwers asks, are you planning on going to Dutch Comic Con? Not currently, because it's in a weekend where I don't have time. But maybe if enough people invite me. I know it's in Utrecht. Octavia Hall asks, would you rather do word search, crosswords, or Sudoku? Probably the crosswords. Sparkly Ember asks, you've mentioned that you play keyboard and sing sometimes. What kind of music do you like to perform? I like improvising. Sarah asks, electronic books or handheld books? So I know that not everyone likes this, but I prefer reading in an ebook because I can read them on my phone and my screen emits lights, which means I don't have to keep the light on when laying in bed. However, I do really like the feeling of a book, and I do own several books. Autumn Heart asks, what do hypnotists mean when they call someone a somnambulist? A somnambulist is someone who responds extremely well to trance. It's about 1 in 10 of average people. Kevi Leviathan asks, is it okay and normal for a dominant to want his sub to have him as her only dom? That's 2 questions. Is it normal? Yes, in the sense that most people function this way. It's still, however, fairly hypocritical. But it really depends on the submissive. There's the old rhyme again. Roses are red, violets are blue, Pornhub is down, so Nimja will do. Ted asks, how long is the list of hypnosis file ideas? Over 100. Octavia Hall asks, what advice would you give to let someone know to train hard in something? If you want something, and if you want it really bad, put in the effort for it. Autumn Heart asks, would you say that someone can become a somnambulist? Maybe. I think so. It's not very common, but it does happen. It also has to do with trust. The more you trust a hypnotist and the more you trust hypnosis to work, the more you can let yourself be open to it. Angela S. asks, how much harder is it to hypnotize someone with ADHD? Well, it's actually not that... Ooh, a kitty. It's actually not that hard. It just means that you have to change your approach. Hottie Hottie asks, do you take commissions? Not usually, but I do allow myself to be inspired by ideas. Susie Brown asks, do you record your videos on the day or prematurely? If prematurely, how prematurely? I always try to record in advance so that I can release the file at a specific time. And it's usually about a week in advance. Lane asks, how do you deal with app reaction? Patience and, well, yeah, every app reaction is different. Elise Brouwers asks, what do you think about Daddy Dom Little Girl? Well, I have several little files, so obviously I'm okay with it. Rainy in Korea asks, cat girls, do you like cat girls? Well, yes, I also have several cat files. Chipperino asks, do you fuck boys? Well, actually, no, I am mostly straight, so I am not interested in intimacy with men. Fan asks, how do you deal with murder hobos in your D&D campaign? Okay, I just really wanted to hear you say murder hobo. Well, that depends. If the murder hobos are players, then just let them see the consequences of their murder hobo actions. Or are they like hobo murderers? CJ Take a Girl asks, is it possible to remain civil or friends with one's ex without feeling hurt inside? That is completely up to you. It depends on your ex, it depends on how you split apart. Sarah asks, do you get a lot of trolls in your live chats? No, not that many. My trusty sidekick moderators are easily capable of dealing with them. I could say sidekick. That was awesome. Denise Frost asks, when is your next workshop? My next workshop is in April in Antwerp, and no, I cannot record it. Susie Brown asks, may we hear your evil laugh, please? No. Elise Brouwers asks, are you a good singer? I'd like to think that I have a good voice for singing, but I am nowhere near experienced enough to call myself a good singer. At least I sing in key. Ted asks, what is your favorite kind of herbal tea? Star Mix. Easy. Octavia Hall asks, if you can do any martial arts, what style would it be? Probably Tai Chi. Liz Orios asks, what is your impression of a little? That they're cute. Cheyenne asks, which live event was the funniest? What was the funniest moment? One of the live events, I messed up the microphone, so it started out with no sound. And actually, the very first live event, I had to restart the event, telling everyone to move to a new URL. Don't know if that was funny, but it was memorable, definitely. CG Take a Girl asks, speaking of singing, would you break into song a little in one of your next files? I don't know. Fen asks, why Tai Chi? I don't know. No very specific reason. It's a less aggressive one. Miss Toasty asks, do you like femboys at all? Well, yes, to a point, but I am mostly straight. Rowan Martineau asks, what are your thoughts on MLP and MLP fans? Do you mean NLP as in neuro-linguistic programming? Oh, wait, My Little Pony. Sorry. I'm completely fine with My Little Pony. It is a show that makes many people happy, and why would I not like things that make people happy? Elise Barros asks, have you seen Gravity Falls? No. Sparkly Ember asks, have you ever done a handshake induction? Not successfully. Sarah asks, do you watch a lot of cartoons? I don't know. Liz Orios asks, have you ever hugged someone into trance? Yes. And Cheyenne mentions that, yes, I actually did use parts of the Ka song from the Jungle Book in my snake files. Becky Why No Why asks, why no why? What is your favorite color? The cool blue of a winter sky. Specifically here in the Netherlands, and it's a really nice sky blue. It's a bit lighter than the deep summer blue. Octavia Hall asks, do you believe a teacher changes the world one child at a time? No. They do help educate the children, but not every teacher does that. Sarah asks, would you ever grow facial hair? No, I look like Catweasel if I do. Elise Brouwers asks, favorite Disney villain? Probably Hades from Hercules. I had a discussion about this a while ago. Denise Frost asks, would you be opposed to doing a choking file? No, I'm not opposed to it. One of the reasons why I haven't done one yet, besides my long list of to do, is that it's really hard to do this purely in voice. Susie Brown asks, may you say something to make everyone feel childish and little quick, please? Oh, hush now, little one. Sarah asks, what is your favorite Disney song? I don't know. So many of them are fantastic. Of course, the most famous and most effective one is Let's Get Down to Business. Fen asks, are there any Dutch versions of Disney songs that you think are better than the original English? Funnily enough, the voice actress for Elsa in Frozen is more grown up than the English one, and I've seen both. And it actually works better when Elsa has a slightly more grown up voice. But the lyrics are generally worse in Dutch. CJ Take a Girl asks, what is your opinion of mesmerism versus hypnosis? Well, that's not really a versus. Mesmerism is a subset of hypnosis. Oh, yes. I know what I started. Earlier, someone mentioned that they think there hasn't been a live event without me doing a Dr. Claw impression from Inspector Gadget. Sarah asks, have you ever driven a car? No. What's really funny about Disney songs in general, that a lot of people prefer the first version that they hear a song in. And for example, if you hear a song by an artist for the first time and then you realize that they just made a cover of another song, then frequently you like the version you heard first. Animals Cave asks, what the hell did I just walk into? Well, I made a mention of the Be a Man song from Mulan, so obviously the chat can't help themselves. Christarina asks, what is the difference between hypnotizing a submissive versus hypnotizing a switch? Not much, honestly. It depends more on hypnotizing a brat or a non-brat. And switches tend to be more bratty. Ted asks, trying to be polite, may you meow for us? Actually, I meowed earlier when I mentioned my favorite Pokemon. Sarah asks, what age did you lose your virginity? 18. Christarina asks, have you ever watched Donnie Darko? Yes, multiple times. Nice movie, actually. I wouldn't say that it's the best movie, but it's a pretty cool movie. Now, 12 more minutes remaining. Lane asks, what do you think about Fantasia? Do you mean the Disney movie? If so, it's pretty cool because animators were allowed to experiment. Originally, the plan was doing that every year, but it became a bigger project than Disney was expecting. Also, Disney's in the business of making money. T asks, how do you manage such a busy life? Yeah. Good question. Sarah asks, do you ever take the time to look in a mirror and admire yourself? No. Like most creative people, when I look at myself or my work, I only see the flaws, the things that I want to be there that I wasn't able to do. And this makes me strive to do better. Fan asks, do you always have to do that hand movement when you do your evil laugh? Well, yes, it just doesn't feel right if I don't. Elise Brouwers asks, your opinions on Greek mythology? Epic. And people who know the proper meaning of epic are now smiling. Octavia Hall asks, how long has your hair ever grown? Long enough to be braided. Christina asks, can we please get hugs before all this is over? Oh, little one, you can have a hug. Ted asks, do you ever feel awkward while in the Q&A? Yeah, but I get over it. Sarah asks, have you ever played Resident Evil 7? It was only recently released, so the word ever is a little bit strange. But no, I have not played any of the Resident Evil games. Part of this is because I am a Nintendo boy and not a PlayStation person. Even though lots of the Resident Evils have come to Nintendo, but I never got into them. Snowflake Kitty asks, can I have a hug too? Yes. Sarah asks, are you able to tan? Not much. Autumn Heart asks, are you getting a Switch? Yeah, but in a month or two. Not yet. A Nintendo Switch. Lane asks, what do you think about adult coloring books? I think it's a very clever idea to make lots of money. Because adults need to, do things with their hands as well. Cheyenne asks, what was the most difficult live event to improvise? Probably this one. The subject of smarter was actually very complicated. The one that was the most fun, you can tell how much fun I have by how long the trance session takes. And the one for Nimja Incorporated was, I think, one of my favorites for the trance session. It was just so much fun to do. Susie Brown asks, on a date, would you prefer to see a movie or go on a walk on the beach? Well, you go to a movie first, then you walk on the beach afterwards, so you have lots of things to discuss. And besides, if your date only lasts 2 hours, then it's too short. You want to spend more time with someone you like. Lucy Tangwe asks, are you someone who believes that if you make a goal, you should stick to it? No. You're allowed to change and move your goals. Because as you try to achieve a goal, you also learn. You also, in the process, become more aware of what is achievable, what is possible. And so sometimes you want to change a goal. Sarah asks, do you get much time to yourself? Fair bit. Elise Brouwers asks, do you like memes? I don't often like memes, but when I do... ... Octavia Hall asked, what is your favorite emoji face? I have no idea how to put that into words. Liz Orios asks, how often do you hypnotize at parties? Not often. It has to be a party where it's been discussed. Sarah asks, do you get much sleep? Yes, I try to get 8 hours every night. Sparkly Ember asks, any tips for how to stop random distracting thoughts popping into one's head when trying to get into trance? Yes, let it happen. The less you worry about it, the more the thoughts will go away. Sarah asks, what would you do if you woke up one day and found that you were a meme? Well, if anything I did was memeified, I would just be patient. Few days, maybe a month, and everyone will have forgotten. Very few memes last. Lane asks, how long do you wait before telling someone you are into hypnosis? That depends on if it comes up. Super CGS asks, why are you so adorable? I don't know. Probably DNA. CJ Take a Girl asks, do you think an amnesia effect in a file works best when someone is not overly analytical? Yes. Analytical people have difficulty with amnesia because it messes with their time perception. Denise Frost asked, will you ever finish Catherine? I honestly don't know. I really like the character of Catherine, and the secondary character I introduced I was very happy with, but a lot of things happened in my life when I was writing that, so I stopped writing. And now picking it up when I'm doing so much stuff with hypnosis is actually quite difficult. Sarah asks, how does it feel to have many people watching you and admiring you? Funnily enough, it feels quite humbling because everything I do is noticed and analyzed and scrutinized. But on the other hand, it also feels very flattering that many people are interested in what I want to do and what I want to share. Liz Oreos asks, what is the quickest way to hypnotize someone? Drop and wake. I'm sorry about that one. Sarah asks, what was life like when you were a child? It was terrible. There was so little internet. No, actually, it was just life. Octavia Hall asks, would you like to be famous? Well, in a way I already am, but I don't want to be, like, recognized on the street famous. I don't often like memes, but when I do, it's because the mayonnaise here doesn't suck. Thank you, Emily. Now we're going to stop in 3 minutes. Lane asks, do you write down triggers you give people? Almost never. People I play with frequently is a very small group, so I'm able to remember. Ted asks, have you heard anything by Hans Zimmer? Yes, everyone has. Hottie asks, can you say you're valid? I've been having some self-esteem issues, and hearing this from you would be a wonderful pick-me-up. Well, thank you, Hottie. And yes, you are valid. You're fine. Georgina Giros asks, can you say poke? Poke. Cheyenne asks, would you do in an April Fool's Live, since you are playful, do a mini trance during the Q&A randomly? It's tempting. Maybe. Well, it's about time to end this. Liz Orios asks, can you say the most teasing thing ever? Yes, and it will be a very nice way to end this. Also, Ruby rules. So, the most teasing thing ever. Well, everyone, I hope you had fun, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.